Hey folks, this is Brian. Excuse me, we got to play RQG last night. And spoilers, this is Darkness at Runegate. So we'll be getting through a lot of that stuff that's happening. So the party, when it last left them, had just cured or removed, had exorcised. That's the word I was looking for last night. Had exorcised the disease spirit out of Veranos, the Lord of Runegate. So he's feeling much better. He's not going to die in 16 plus D6 hours or whatever. So the party then just decides, it's mid-morning. Let's look around and see what we can find. So they started just kind of circling around the central area, and then they circle out to the roadways behind that, and they end up just running up and down the main thoroughfares between the gates and the market square, which is more of a triangle. And while they're all doing this, I had to figure out, because the random encounters you get every full turn, right? That's 5 minutes, is one of a series of things. It could be someone with a D spirit. There's a mother with children, and she's asking for you to get them to their kinfolk. There's a farmer who's so weak he can't do anything. He's asking for help. They're a dead person, so he just expired from disease. There's a couple of that we didn't run into. There's a bring out your dead cart, a guy driving around picking up bodies. There are funeral pyres going on, an actual ceremony where somebody's being cremated by a priest. How many priests are there in Runegate? I mean, they ran into 3 of those pyres while we were playing last night, and I had to start just making stuff up. Actually, okay, you've got a priestess from Ernalda there. Gamalio, does he even have priests, or are they all rune lords? That sort of thing going on. The Seven Mothers is just a shrine. The Maki is just a shrine. The Storm Bull is just a shrine. So there may be god talkers there doing that. That's what I should have done. I pulled out of the air Moran Gore god talker. Probably should have been the Storm Bull god talker, but still, there's just, if you're going to have all these funerals, maybe there's just one Ronaldan priestess who's been running around doing all these pyres for people. Maybe. That's very possible now to think about it. But then you have these groups of, Orlanthian Ronaldans getting together, praying to the sky and praying to the earth to rid them of this curse of Malia kind of thing, right? They're into a couple of those. Mobs of angry people, blaming it on Veranos, blaming it on Queen Leika, blaming it even on Prince Kalir. She's dead at this point. That kind of stuff, right? They ran into a couple of those. And the scenario is written, and we had to actually, by the way, all of this is in the live play. So we've got the live play if you're into listening or watching this. I have to do a few myself, but I do lots of things on speed and a half or double speed just to get through it, so it doesn't take 3 hours to listen to this thing. To pick up ideas and stuff. But anyway, so at one point we stop and start talking about disease. How do you get disease? You can get a disease from somebody who has a disease by having contact with them. That's this Constitution times 5 roll thing. You can get a disease from a disease spirit simply attacking you. And then you can get a disease from a disease spirit who actually possesses you. So why would a disease, what differentiates a disease spirit from attacking somebody to simply actually possessing them, right? So in my head, I still don't see a differentiation between a disease spirit attacking somebody and a disease spirit possessing somebody. They're going to want possessed. They're not just going to attack somebody, right? But there's a number of they call them fetches. We call them totems in the game. that were dispersed in Runegate by the brew, that have a disease spirit encased in them. That's causing a lot of disease to promulgate. Now, in the rules of in the scenario, it says you come within 80 meters of one of these things, you have a chance of catching the disease. I did not do that. I in my own head said, okay, you got to be something like close contact, and a couple of the players, well, I suppose the characters would know too that when you come in close contact with people who are sick, that you can get sick as well. But there's kind of hesitation on helping people. There's one point where one of the players starts looking around the square. They came across somebody who was sick. Help me, help me. Hey, somebody, who knows this guy? Get him to the temple. Help him out. Get him. Well, why don't you just take him over there? Because the temple is on the other side of the square. Because the player doesn't have to deal with getting the disease, right? Characters, I think, would be concerned, but I think they still would, we're part of society. We're here to help. You need help, I'll help you. Drag you over there. And yes, I need to make a Constitution 5. See if I can. But I kind of wave some of that off because they're trying to be cautious. But they got Miriam, shaman, who is not breaking the scenario, but obviously that's a power that the scenario is designed now. The scenario is designed that, Fishy's there, and he spends the magic points to turn on the second sight, that he can see disease spirits, right? Miriam just turns it on and off. We actually had her on most of the time because she's like scanning for disease spirits while the party's leaving her around. Got a hand on somebody's shoulder because the spirit world is not the physical world, and so. But it does mirror. The closer you are to the material plane or the middle Earth, middle world, the more similar it is. At least that's my opinion. And it's the further in the spirit plane, the further away you get from that, more stuff gets weird and more powerful spirits and all that kind of stuff, right? So they're leaving around. She's scanning, and of course, if you come across one of these totem things, it's got spirit in it. You can see the spirit. You can see its power. I still had them do search rolls. So they find one of them, and at this point, because there's nothing in the scenario talking about how many there are or where they are, so it's up to the GM. Okay, how many do you want to have, and where do you want to have them? So there's 4 types of diseases that are prevalent in the scenario, and so okay, there are 4 of these totems, 1 for each spirit, and there are 4 gates. I'll just put 1 at each gate because gates have lots of people passing through. It's a good opportunity for them to come close enough to catch a disease. Now, if I did this whole thing about the spirit attack deal, spirits can move their power in meters. Your strike rank or just in the round? No, 8. No, in melee round, right? So they're generic. I'll get 16 power. But so if you come within 16 meters of one of these things, it can reach out and touch you. So that kind of makes some sense. But that's the kind of range thing I was dealing with on, okay, are you going to be able to get sick from this totem or not? So finding the first one, there's a discussion on, okay, how do we fight this thing, get rid of it? And Miriam casts visibility on her fetch. It manifests in the material plane. It engages in spirit combat. And the first one, whack, 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 it's gone. So they go, start doing this from gate to square, gate, square, to gate, square. And sure enough, they find one at the west. They did the north gate first, and they did the west gate. And so, on the first one, Arestra just hacks at it, right? And I had one of the players at that first one roll to see if the disease got close enough to the disease spirit to catch the disease. And David he missed his first con roll, but he made a second. So he got the mild one. So he loses a point of, it was the Shakes Constitution. In a week later, they'll lose another point if it doesn't get, cured. Well. So on the second one, Arestra scoops it up using her axe like a shovel, and they bring it to the center of the square, dump it down, draw a circle around it. Is there anybody here? And that was another thing I meant to. I started to go on this trail earlier, but forgot because I got distracted. So back to the square. 1,000 people in Runegate, but it is rampant with disease. Are there people walking around? These random encounters every 5 minutes of a person, a family, a mob, half a dozen people, some followers, 1 to 6, or these worshipers, these little small pockets and groups things. Every 5 minutes, we're running across one of these. So people are pretty much shut in. That makes sense to me. If diseases run rampant down, we're all going to hide out. Even though at the beginning of this scenario, there's a whole group of people out in front of the Lightbringer's temple because the priestess Shalana Roy was killed. So there's just balance on running into people for encounters and the fact that everybody's going to be shut in. What's really happening? So when the player's trying to, okay, I'll look around. Who's around to help us to do this thing? Because we don't want to touch this old man and get sick, right? If I would just land and roll. If it was something that's reasonable, yeah, okay, they come and they take him over. They found a wheelbarrow. We're able to get him somewhere, or the family, or that sort of thing, right? And but okay, so they're drawing this circle around this totem, which is in the center of the square now. And he calls out, "Hey, come look at this thing. This is making people sick. Stay away from it. See if you can't find some more." Well, how many people are out looking around? How many people are out doing anything? Not many, right? So at that point, they think, "Hey, let's get the leadership involved." So they go to the main hall, meet with Ernos' daughter. I forgot her name. I think it starts with an I. Says, "Hey, we found this totem, and it's got a disease spirit bound in it. It's what's causing disease. We think there are more of them. We need to let people know, and we need to, spread the word." So she goes out, sees it. She takes one of the guards. They put a guard around this to, keep people safe and notify. Hey, if you see one of these things, let somebody know so we can destroy it properly. Okay, back to the party, looking for disease spirit totems, and on the south gate, they find one. And this is actually a drawn-out battle with Miriam's fetch. In fact, Miriam has been sucking up the magic points, so the fetch doesn't have to worry about it. But this one kept winning. In fact, Miriam's fetch fumbled and was distracted for 3 melee rounds due to hallucinations. So that's 3 free attacks from the spirit, and whack, whack, whack. Plus it won the first one. Well, one of the first one because she fumbled, and then there's 3 free ones. That's 4 melee rounds. They're only doing a d6, but that's 4 d6 magic points. That's a lot. Although there was a 1 and a 2 in there somewhere too, so it wasn't all that bad. But he ended up losing a total of 12 magic points to this one encounter. I think he lost a couple earlier on. Yeah, at least 1 d6 earlier. So he sucked. Miriam was sucking. Miriam was sucking up those magic points damage to the fetch that we're about. But this one, she can only take so much, and then the fetch can take so much. So the fetch is actually, Miriam's down to 1, and the fetch is down to 3. And so, okay, disengage. Technically, that takes a spirit combat roll to do, but a disembodied spirit against an embodied spirit, you just disengage, right? You can flee. So I didn't worry about that. I can see if we got 2 disembodied spirits having a battle out, you'd have to do a spirit combat to actually do disengage. That makes some sense. But for this situation, it didn't make sense to me, so I didn't have her break that roll. Just, okay, disengage. And so they're thinking now, okay, so what do we do? We got this totem, and what was the 4th one that they got whacked out? Because that one they actually burned. Yeah, there must have been just a couple more. So they burned one at the south gate. At the east gate is where they found one. That's the one that whittle down all the magic points. And so there's a slight discussion. Okay, do we burn the totem here? What happens to the spirit if the binding is destroyed? Well, it becomes free. What the disease spirit was going to do? It's going to attack somebody, right? So they don't want to do that. If I recall correctly, they end up taking that to the center town as well and leaving it there. So there's two totems, one with an actual spirit in it. And then they head over to the Last Chance Inn. They meet Sarkinvar, the innkeeper there, retired adventurer. They end up meeting Snaggletooth, the dark troll companion, who's the cook in the back. So it's getting close to dinner time, evening. So they order drinks, they order food, and they're discussing things themselves. But they don't actually engage Sarkinvar with anything. And there's some stuff in here about Sarkinvar knows some stuff, but he's not really going to talk about it. But he's more likely to talk about it if you're buying stuff, right? That kind of deal. After a while, 5 folks come in. They order food and drinks, and they're just chowing down. They are not sick. And there's a discussion going on. Can you tell that Davos and Arestra are sick because they've picked up diseases? And yeah, you can tell they're sick. It's minor or whatever, but they did lose a point, so they are sick. These folks aren't sick at all. But they have Miriam go investigate, so she turns on her second sight, and sure enough, these people are all possessed by disease spirits. Well, they don't know they're disease spirits. They're possessed by spirits. Some by 2. And so she's making spirit lore rolls to see if she recognizes any of them. She recognizes the creeping chills and the shakes, which is what Arestra and Davos have, right? So there's 2 girls and 3 guys at this table. One of the girls has 2 disease spirits. One is creeping chills, the other is the shakes. And then there's 2 other people that have the chills, and one other person has a shake. So, but they're possessed by these spirits. So David goes over to talk with them. Hey, how are things going? What are you doing? You don't seem to be sick, but you're obviously sick. Oh, we're not sick. We've been healed. This is a discussion about healing, and they're making some rolls, and so the NPCs are letting some information out. And they can tell that Davos and Arestra are saying, hey, if you want to come with us, we can take you to the healer and see if she can heal you as well. And so they agree, and the whole party goes with them. Well, when are you going to leave? Well, we're getting ready to leave about now, because it's going to be a few hours from here. We need to get out of the gates before nightfall, because that's when they lock the gates. It's a town. They lock the gates at night. Someone asked me how 3D6 people show up at midnight. So anyway, they take off. Using my string, ruler, and map, the new map, by the way. It's about 2 hours to where I put the healer's hut in the forest, not in town. The scenario says Newtown, but nowhere to describe what Newtown is. Is Newtown near the horse town? Is it just outside the walls? Because outside the walls, you've got little, they're not really villages, but you got these hamlets, essentially, groups of huts, right? People living and working and stuff. But it's about 2 hours during dark season walking to the hut, and another hour from there to the chaos point, which we don't get to tonight, but we will later. Again, spoilers. So they get to the hut, they go in, they see what's going on, and describe the place. There's the healer. She greets each of the NPCs. The 2 girls get a left hand to a right hand to the left cheek thing, and the men get right hand to the left shoulder. Welcome, blessing, that kind of stuff, right? And then she sees the NPC go, who are these people, right? And she just asks questions. Who are you? Why are you here? And they kind of explain, well, we're safer if you can heal us, kind of thing. And then she starts getting to this, try to ask questions about how she does the healing, and says she worships the how did I put it? I stole this from somewhere else that I used earlier about the warming darkness or something like that. Like she's worshiping a spirit. That's what she's portraying as. She worships a spirit who allows her to heal. And But we're talking about sacred rituals. Are you willing to keep secret what you learn and witness tonight? And Miriam says, well, no, because that may go against my principles. And so there's this confrontation between her and Miriam. And it comes down to, okay, maybe you guys just leave. If you don't have the faith, then I can't help you. And so the party leaves. And then she kind of scolds the NPCs about, hey, what are you doing bringing strangers in here? You need to vet things better if you want somebody to come be healed. Now, somebody that's fine. But strangers, we need to be careful about that. And then they go just kind of a prayer service thing. Meanwhile, the party gets, outside of sight and hearing of the hut. And what we do next? And they decide to manifest the fetch. Oh, and previous to after the big battle with one of the disease spirits, Miriam cuts it off saying, "Hey, I'm out of magic points. The fetch is almost out of magic points. You can't do this." And David goes, "Oh shoot, I've got this power crystal, and you could have been using this to cast those visibility spells." Well, so she's got it now, so she can use that to manifest the fetch. And plus, it's been like 6 hours, so they've got three magic points back. 6 to 8 hours. They've each got 3 more magic points back because she's got power 12 and has power 11. So it manifests the fetch and go over there and listen in. So they're telepathically linked, so I have no problem with whatever the fetch sees. Miriam can see whatever the fetch hears. Miriam can hear. So I have the problem with that. So the fetch, now it's manifested, so it's on material plane. It's a ghostly appearance, yellow bear, right? So if someone were to see it, they recognize it as a spirit, right? But it's not like, okay, don't go inside the hut. So she goes to the hut, listen in. Could it go through the walls? Yeah, of course it could go through the walls. But at that point, it'd be inside the house and could be seen. So there's some of that discussion going on. So it goes up and listens. It hears the back end of the scolding and then the beginning of the prayer service. Comes back. What do we do next? And at that point, because there's a point earlier where we were talking about cutting off, but decided to do this spy on the hut thing first. But at this point is where we cut off the session, so they can think like, what do we want to do next? What kind of plan do we want to have? So, all in all, too bad. A lot of consternation on my part on wandering about the city and how many people are actually out and about based upon the encounters you have and the fact that the city should be pretty much shut down because of the diseases and everything. So, I don't know. We got some more pretty good discussion. We have a common understanding of how disease works generally, which was helpful because you do not have to be possessed by a disease spirit to get the disease. Just coming in contact with one can give you the disease. Which reminds me, all the players need to roll for being in contact with the 5 people at the table. Happy gaming.